Hi guys, it's Kasim or Cass. I hope you're okay. I hope all is well. I've got another question on student room that I wanted to share some thoughts with you on, if that's okay, and answer. And I hope that it can add some value to you. I found this really, really interesting. Okay, so the person who commented on this said their title is Fever Beaver 180, and they've entitled it Most Women Want to Be Bad Girls in 2023. And the question is, what would be the reason for them wanting to be bad girls? Question mark. Could it be because of past trauma, social media, feminism, or are most of them just fed up with not caring anymore going into 2023? So, this is such a really interesting question, and let me begin with the most basic thing, which I think is really interesting, which is I love the fact that you are starting to have self-awareness. I love the fact that if you're on student room, obviously you must be a younger person meaning someone under the age of 25. Of course, that phrase is subjective. You can be young at 60, but in terms of the context of this website, I'm assuming you're a young person. So I love the fact that you've got some self-awareness and you're starting to realize that there are things that go on just beyond yourself, and that people have their own personal lives, people have their own personal struggles, people have their own stories, people have their own successes, people have their own difficulties. um I think that is such a good trait to have, because so many of us don't realize that other people are living their own lives and we're not the main character in their story. We are a what do you call them? What do you call those people in a movie or in a film or a documentary who are just in the background? An extra, right? For most of us, we are just an extra in most people's lives. We are not the central, the antagonist, and we're certainly not one of the main characters, right? So I love the fact that you've recognized that. And I also love the fact that you've started to ask questions. You've clearly noticed that within yourself, you've realized that you have a belief that women shouldn't be, as you quote it, baddie, bad girls, right? And then you've seen this contradiction of this dissonance. Dissonance is tug of war, and inconsistent within yourself, where you're like, this is not really reflecting what I'm seeing either on social media. It's not reflecting what I've heard people say, and I love that. I love the fact that you're starting to look at yourself and begin to explore how you show up in comparison to other people. I think that is such a great quality to also have. That I wanted to say. The other thing that I wanted to say is you need to, and it's been a constant comment down in the section when I was reading the other comments of people who are saying stuff, is you need to define what you mean by stuff. As we grow as men, one of the things that I think is really important is, well, I don't know if actually I'm making an assumption. I don't know if you're a man, you're a woman, you could be a woman. But I'm going to make an assumption that you're a man. As we go, well, this actually applies both to men and women anyway. But as we go through life, one of the things that we have to start doing as we're maturing, and if we want to mature, because remember, it is possible to grow old but not of grown as a person. In order to grow as a person, you have to reflect, basically. You have to start taking account of what works, what doesn't work, which is why I said I love the fact that you've started to reflect on the incongruence within yourself. You've started to realize things aren't making sense. This is not what I thought it was supposed to be. That's how you begin to get wiser. And then you've gone a step further and actually asked the question, which is something that most people don't do. Most people just make statements. I tell students all the time, if you want to begin to grow in the next year rapidly and grow in maturity and begin to attract people into your life that are going to be succeeding and have got momentum, start asking more questions than making more statements, because most people that I meet make a lot of statements but they don't ask a lot of questions. All right, so um going back to the question that I was, what was I saying? I was talking about maturity. So in order to mature, you got to start asking questions. And part of that is you got to start thinking about defining things for yourself. And the first thing that I would say to you is, how do you define what a bad girl is? Right. And then start examining as to why you believe that it's trauma, social media, and feminism. And even deeper than that, if you really want to go and really grow as a person, you want to start looking at why do you believe that is the social media and what comes up for you, right? Start looking at what is coming up for you. What is it about this particular subject that is causing so much, it's triggered you, that has caused so much to come up within yourself, that it's caused for you to put it on the website. There's been some frustration, some something within yourself that has caused you to put this on online. And it could be called curiosity, just literally just curiosity, but whatever it is, I would encourage you to look at that and start to look at how you define certain things. What do you mean by bad girls? What do you mean by is it going into 2023? Right? Just start studying this sort of stuff. And obviously, part of you studying it is you ask this question, which I really, really like. The other thing that I would say is, I would say one of the reasons why women or young girls are, I wouldn't use the word becoming baddies. I believe that what you're actually wanting to ask is that you're wanting to ask, why are so many women wanting to be independent? I think that's the question you're really asking. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on this, but I genuinely believe that's at the core of what you're asking. The question you're really asking is, why is it that so many women want to become independent? But the way you phrased it makes it look as if it's a negative thing. And the answer is, it's because of what's happened in the past. Indeed, you're right in many ways when you talk about past trauma, social media, and feminism, because all of those have in some way contributed to why women are choosing to want to live independent. You have to understand that in here in the UK, one in every four women at one point in their life, under the age of 60, before they reach the age of 60, would have been in a relationship with a male partner who would have either sexually assaulted them or would have abused them in some way. Meaning one in four is meaning that's a lot of people. We're not talking one in a billion, one in a million, one in a thousand, one in four, which means that's a lot of people. If you know 400 people, 100 of those people or women, let's say you know 400 women, 100 of those women are going to be sexually assaulted by them, a male partner. I'm not saying that this does, of course, doesn't happen with female to male, because that also happens. But in this context, you have to understand that a lot of girls and women, their experience isn't been very good in the world. This is why safety is such a major thing for women. A lot of guys, we really do not understand what it's like to truly be a girl, and safety, the amount of harassment, direct messages, nudes that girls get. As guys, we don't see that as a problem, and we are like, oh, it doesn't matter. I'll just delete the person, I'll just block them. But for girls, this is consistent all the time, right? They get whistled at, and it's just their normal world. It's inconvenience, but it's just their normal world. Guys, we wouldn't keep up with that, and we'll probably get into a fight with somebody. Imagine if everywhere you went, you got unsolicited men, let's say, who were just whistling at you and whatever, whatever. At first, it'll be banter and joke or whatever, but after a while, it just gets really, really, really frustrating, right? And also, you have to think about, imagine, don't, if you're thinking about safety, imagine if you're in a gang, is how you got to try to think about it. Men who are in gangs are constantly looking over their shoulder. They have to watch where they go. In Bristol, I was watching this thing the other day about Bristol. Bristol have a massive issue at the moment around young men carrying knives. Um, and a huge amount of why the young boys are carrying knives is to protect themselves. Now, why would you need to protect yourself if you think that you're safe, right? And a huge amount of it is these boys don't think that they're safe. And so imagine living in a world where constantly you're having to worry about your safety. And that is the world in which a lot of women live in. They're just not safe. And so a huge amount of their independence, comes from the fact that they don't feel safe, and safety isn't just in terms of their physical safety, it's in terms of their emotional safety. As I said, 1 in 4 women in the UK are going to be abused or sexually abused. Abuse means physical, emotional, spiritual, right? Meaning that somebody is going to beat them down, manipulate them, tell them they're not worthy, tell them they're dumb, they're stupid, they're not going to account to anything. They are like they're going to use the fact that a woman should be in a household as a way to control and dominate and manipulate them to doing whatever it is that the man or the abuser or the perpetrator wants them to do, right? People don't truly, it's not everybody, but many people don't truly want people to have autonomy, to have choice. Because if people truly had choice, then they might not choose us. Then we get into this thing, as you correctly have already pointed out, where we have this incongruence. People don't live up to what we believe they should live up to, right? In order to have true freedom requires that people are able to choose freely without consequence. The problem is you can't actually technically have that, and which is why we have categories and we have laws and we have rules and we have in groups and out groups. But a lot of women have been brought up in an environment and in a culture, particularly in Western civilization, as you pointed out, where from a very young age, they're told that they should be a certain way. Girls are told by other women that they shouldn't say no and stuff like that. So it's really, really difficult as a woman when you're growing up and you're going everywhere and everyone's telling you you can't do this. I made some notes about the difference between being a boy and a girl and growing up. And in the playground, boys are encouraged to play and, to explore whilst girls are shielded. The experience that boys and men have when they're growing up is very different to the experience that girls have. A lot of girls are told to play small, to say sorry, to go along with the rules, to follow. But the problem is, boys are told to dominate and to be the one who's the alpha and in charge and the leader. But the problem is, if that person is the abuser or overreaches or isn't empathetic and understanding and isn't uh, uh, you know, a lot of people tend to think that leadership is about being on top of the pyramid or the family, but actually being a leader in a family is being the foundation, the bottom of your family. And a lot of men want to be served. They don't want to serve their family. They don't want to be of service to their family or their community. So a huge amount of this is that women want independence because they want to be able to live the life that they want to live, not the life that society wants them to live. And unfortunately, as a woman, many women are told that they have to live within the context of their roles, right? I'm a mother, I'm a girl. Girls don't play sports, girls don't wear tracksuits. That is the world in which many women are only viewed within the context of their roles, not within the context of who they are. Many people don't realize, both men and women don't realize that you can both be a woman and a mother and a best friend and a daughter and an artist and an entrepreneur and a co-worker. Like, people don't like that. You're either a mother or you're not. You're either a parent or you're not. You're either a boss bitch or you're not. Right? People don't want people to have autonomy, and so what ends up happening is so many women don't end up being able to exercise and express all of who they are. And yet many men want to be able to have that freedom for themselves. Now, don't get me wrong, men also have blocks on who they are, for example, particularly around their emotional state, right? Around providing, around the way that they look, you got to be 6 foot this and whatever. There is pluses and minuses on both sides. But I don't know if this has kind of answered a little bit about your question. But of course, past trauma will play into it, and each individual woman, because you can't generalize. Well, you can generalize, but you can't take. I'm guessing that what you mean is that the women that you want, or the people who you believe women should be a certain way and they're not living up to that. And what I would say to you is explore that for yourself and look at, is that because you feel that in some way you're being restricted by them not allowing you to by them being free is not allowing you to be able to express who you are or follow the rules, right? Because you might have the temperament of somebody who does follow the rules and does do whatever you're told, but you're actually being triggered by people who truly are free, who are able to exercise and expand and explore their sexuality and explore their different identities and pursue different careers and reach different heights. That may be triggering for you. So the thing that I would say to you is, instead of looking to other women, look to yourself. What is it bringing up for you? What is that showing up for you? And work on that, because you can't control what other people do. You can try, right? You can try to change other people, but my experience of life and reading and studying people has been that you cannot change people, only people can change themselves. And what we want to do is work on ourselves, look to ourselves, and explore what we think, what we believe, right? And I would encourage you to start journaling, get a journal and start journaling. Or for you, you may go to start speaking to a therapist, start having conversations with women and men, but don't come from a point of view of judgment, come from a point of view of curiosity. But also begin to deconstruct some of your definitions. Um, what do you mean by a bad girl? How do you define that sort of stuff? What do you define a woman's role is and a man's role is? What are your thoughts on on expression and identity? Right? What's your expression on in groups and out groups? So a lot of this work is actually doing work on you, not other people. And that's always the answer. Whatever issue that you're experiencing, most of it is to do with us as people, not other people. So I don't know whether that's kind of answered your question or it's been of some value to you, but I hope it's been of some value. As always, comment below, send me a message. If you agree with me, you don't agree with me, that's absolutely fine. Um, I never want everybody to completely agree with me because we're all different. We all have different perspectives. This isn't about me being right or wrong. This is just simply me having a conversation with you and sharing with you what I think. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.